Hey, friends. I had a lovely Boxing Day appointment this morning with the osteopath, who pretty much every time I've gone over the last several months, I've reported back to you. And this time will be no different because there's something almost. I mean, I'm getting accustomed to this, or I'm getting, I guess, just kind of used to it as a thing. But when I step into the space of that office and the space of his Andrew's kind of the psychic space that someone creates around them, it's a whole field. It's like it just creates clarity about certain things. It makes certain aspects of my energetic reality, my physical reality, my psychological, emotional, and spiritual reality clear. They just feel clear when I'm in that space. And that's something that I've observed over the past several months. I guess I had observed it before when I had visited him, because I've been visiting this guy now for several years. But it had been a while. I don't think I'd seen him since the pandemic until I came back to him with the injury that I got over the summer. And I don't think that the last time that I was there, I really kind of fully appreciated quite what that space was. I think that what's happening is that because I am becoming more sensitized, and this last sort of round of injuries has, I think, a fair amount to do with that, or it's at least a step in the process. Because that's happening, I'm just a lot more attuned to it. I'm just a lot more awake when I go in there. And so today was, he talked, because it's interesting to me, because I had been feeling, I think I've talked about my shoulder injury that I got from a fall while running. At this point, probably 3 months ago. I forget when it was. September, I think, end of September. Almost exactly 3 months. And when you get an injury, you usually think about it as something, as like somehow you've done damage to something in your body, and now you've got to fix it. And if you're lucky, you'll get it back to as good as it was before. But that's kind of best case scenario. Like the best case scenario for an injury in conventional thinking is that it can fully heal, fully be repaired, and be as good as it was before. But my experience of injury has always been that when I sustain an injury, I'm not just sustaining damage to a part of my body. I am also being tasked with a healing process, and generally not just a physical healing process, but a psychological, emotional, and even spiritual healing process that where the physical injury is just one layer of it, but is not by any stretch of the imagination the whole deal, and is also really almost not the point of the healing process. The healing process is doing something else. The injury gives us the opportunity to do that healing. And for healing, you could also substitute growth. I tend to see healing and growth as being essentially the same thing, because growth in terms of human evolution, conscious evolution, is the greater and greater experience of wholeness, of oneness. And that's also what healing is. Healing is also a moving towards wholeness, towards integrity, towards the whole system being in harmony, being in balance, being in with uninhibited function. So healing and growth are really just kind of two sides of the same coin. We could even think of spiritual growth as being a process of healing our perceived divide between ourselves and oneness, between ourselves and the universe, between ourselves and God, whatever word we want to use for the ultimate. Spiritual growth is the process of healing what we see as the division or as the separation between ourselves and oneness. And every physical injury is an opportunity to, and not just an opportunity, it's an encouragement to do that work on some level of our being. And there's always some portion of our body involved, obviously, if it's a physical injury. But that part of the body is really just kind of awakening the need and sometimes the urgency to do the work of healing, of connecting with oneness. And that's what I've been experiencing over the past several months. And as I've sort of got, for quick recap for if you haven't seen my post before, I have a scapholunate tear, which means that there are two bones in this hand and my wrist that have a ligament that's supposed to hold them together, and that ligament is gone. And it's not a great injury. It's not an injury that has a tremendous success rate in terms of surgical repair. And some of the options get pretty dicey. If you don't do ligament repair, you can do bone fusions and all kinds of stuff. And so this is the medical prognosis. But what I'm finding is that when I do Qigong, my wrist feels almost totally fine. I mean, I don't notice anything. I don't notice my wrist. I don't feel anything. I don't feel any instability or problems in it until I do something that puts torque or tension through the hand in a way that is not, that somehow activates the injury. So in other words, I'm on my path now of what form of healing that injury is trying to provoke in me. And what I already know, just from the time I've already spent with this and from working with Andrew, is it's about becoming more sensitive, and it's about being that kind of instrument, being an instrument that is somewhat delicate. Andrew had a great image today where I said something like, this is just forcing me to live more consciously. And he was like, that's a hilarious thing to say. What force, as though you don't want to live more consciously. It's forcing you to live more consciously. So that's as though that is somehow, not what you would ultimately desire anyway. Like, I can't just do random things without thought. He was like, it's like I got this Stradivarius, yeah? And it's just no good at hitting a ball. I was like, wow, you nailed it, Andrew. Excellent comedic work there, bud. I've got this Stradivarius, and it's just no good at hitting a ball. It doesn't hit a ball very well, I think he said. And that's a little bit what I've been trying to do for much of my life. Hitting a ball with a Stradivarius. It's not what you're supposed to do with a Stradivarius. And you're going to injure a Stradivarius. I'm not calling myself a Stradivarius, by the way. That's just what Andrew said. But you're not supposed to swing a Stradivarius at incoming balls, in case you didn't know that. And when you do that, you're going to get hurt. Something's going to break. Something's going to be, and then you're going to wonder why that, why is my instrument breaking down under pressure? Why is it breaking down under the tasks that I'm asking it to do? Well, is it suited for those tasks? What is this thing suited for? What are you built for? And again, this is a place where I go there. I have to say, Andrew has kind of imprinted this on me quite well, quite deeply over the last several months. But when I'm in that office, it's like I know exactly what level of sensitivity I'm supposed to bring. And I don't resist it. I don't have any urge to go out and do something physical or do something that my particular function is not suited for, my particular instrument is not suited for. And I think, knock on wood, I think that that's sinking in. I think that that's sinking in. And in some ways, this weakness over here in this wrist, this part of me that now, as soon as I try to force something with my right hand, I immediately feel it. It's almost like an implant that that will immediately give me feedback if I'm going beyond what I'm designed for. The irony of ironies with all this is that after the injury, not just after the injury, but after the injury, after Andrew treated the injury, my wrist became more free, my piano playing became easier and smoother and more virtuosic. What? Huh? How? If you were a piano teacher and you had a student who said, hey, I want to get my wrist more free and become more virtuosic, would you say, oh, then the best thing for you to do is to go out and injure your wrist, tear your scapholunate ligament? Hopefully not, because you'd probably get sued. But also, that's crazy that that's how it worked for me. Now, I know I have a liability in that hand, and it's something that I have to be, it's not something that I can ignore, and I think, I got a lot of life left to live, knock on wood, but assuming I have a lot of life left to live, I have to find a way to integrate that injury into everything I do in a way that it can peacefully be part of my body. But it is bizarre that I suddenly experienced an improvement and a greater degree of freedom and clarity in my playing after tearing a ligament in my hand. So, forcing me to live more consciously. By hook or by crook. The universe is like, all right, bro, let's try this. Let's see if this gets your attention. And I think that it has gotten my attention. I've felt, I'll like lie in bed at night and I'll have this fear about what these injuries mean. But very quickly I'm like, oh wait, whoa. This is just the mind. I'm just on a loop here. Let's click out of that into the part where I remember that this injury is a gift, helping me to elevate to a place where I live and move with such an ease that even an injury in my hand presents no obstruction. That's where I am today, folks. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon.